Welcome to Not Famous. Eminem just surprised fans by dropping a brand new album just this last night. I just gave it a full listen through and I have some thoughts about the album. Let's dive into it. Famous. Not famous. So if you follow Eminem at all, you know that he's been dropping some hints recently about something new coming, a new project. We just didn't know what it was or when it'd be dropping. And Eminem dropped it, his 11th studio album, surprising fans just like he did in 2018 with the release of Kamikaze. Now, this album is called Music to Be Murdered By. And if you are a fan of classic horror film genius, Alfred Hitchcock, you recognize that name right off the bat because that's the name of an album that he put out as well. So it's heavily inspired by the horror mastermind. This album features a number of guest artists, production by Dr. Dre, Ed Sheeran, Skylar Grey, of course, and the late Juice WRLD, amongst others. Pretty awesome. Now, the pacing of the album takes a slightly different pace than other Eminem albums. However, we do see some recurring themes, such as in the last couple of years, it's like every time Eminem drops a brand new album, there's one song where he says something about B-Rabbit and then immediately follows it into a super fast flow. And that happens again. There's a song on here where he mentions that, and then he goes into this crazy flow, almost trying to top his rap god lyrics. You know, he's always trying to top himself. He's his own greatest competitor. We still see a torn Eminem in some ways. You know, we've seen an Eminem that takes a new stance for social justice, and at the same time, like in the song Those Kind of Nights, he talks about sexually harassing a stripper, and she says that's harassment, and he says yeah. So we still see an Eminem kind of torn on preaching and doing and living to that standard in his lyrics. You know, obviously Eminem's older lyrics are a bit more controversial and would not fly today, and you know, we know that he's evolved, but we still see Eminem torn in so many ways. There's also been some controversy and some fans claiming to cancel Eminem because he kind of goes into details about the Ariana Grande shooting that happened in London, I think, in 2017, and the way that he goes about that is debatable by some people, whether or not it should have been mentioned or the way that he talks about it. But Eminem is controversial. I mean, that's nothing new. If you're just figuring this out, you haven't been paying attention. Probably one of the most notable songs, the song you're going to hear about the most in the media and on social media, is the song Darkness. Halfway through this song, Eminem transitions the lyrics to literally taking the place of the Las Vegas shooter who shot up a crowd of people from Mandalay Bay. Now, the song ends up kind of carrying a heavy political theme in some regard about gun rights, gun control, and so forth. At the end of the music video that Eminem released, he kind of drops these links saying, you know, go register to vote. So Eminem's political. It's nothing new. You may or may not agree with what he's saying. He's certainly said some things in the past that most of us don't agree with. But, you know, it's a good message. The song itself was actually pretty legit, whether or not you really love the message behind it. I listened to the rest of the album. I've listened to a couple songs a few times now, and I do have some final thoughts on it. One thing that I didn't notice as much in this album, especially compared to Kamikaze, was that there's just not nearly as many disses going on. Eminem's notorious for dissing people. Now, don't get me wrong, there are a few, especially towards the very end, against a few people, and we'll see how they respond, but I don't think that that was the purpose and intent of this. And I'm not complaining in some regards. It's far more personal. We actually see Eminem go off in a whole verse about how much he disdainfully does not like his dad, his late dad, and that's the Eminem I really like a lot. Now the question is this album going to be memorable? Are any of the tracks on it going to be memorable? Because people will remember the real Slim Shady, Stan, Lose Yourself, so many other classic songs, Till I Collapse, for years and years and years. Those songs are ingrained in a lot of our brains, and we'll be remembering those songs 50 years from now. And I don't know yet if any of the songs on this album are, and that's kind of been the case for Eminem the last couple years. The albums that he's dropped, some have been great, some not so great, but how many of those songs on those albums are you going to be singing in your head, 15 years from now? I don't know. Now, don't get me wrong, I've only listened to it once. It's only been out for a day. It's very possible that this just sticks around and does really good, but I'm not sure how memorable it is. Let me know what you think about that in the comments. I do have to say, though, as far as the album goes, this is one of the most complete Eminem albums I've listened to in a number of years, my friends. The style that he takes is finally gelling together. There's this newfound Eminem that kind of struggles with some of the modern rap and the classical, way that he, found his voice. And we've seen that coming together the last year or two, especially in Kamikaze, but in this album, his style is great. His lyrics are amazing. The message, the story behind it is just, it's about the best I've heard in a long time. The beats are fire, my friends. They are fire. I actually really enjoy listening to this album. It sounds great. Lyrics and beats are on point. It is a complete album. So, my friends, that's what I think about the new Eminem album. I'm going to have to soak it in for a couple days, couple weeks, see what I think about it in a month. But overall, I thought it was really good. I don't necessarily agree with everything that he is saying on the album, but I still am a fan of Eminem, and I still enjoy his music, and he's still capable of making great music. So, yeah. Now, my friends, if you would like to see more videos like this, figure out what's going on in the world, make sure to hit the subscribe button. I hope you have an amazing day. It's always good to talk to you, my friends. I'll talk to you again. And as always, adios, amigos.